I was eating cold takeout in my boots when it started. 2 knocks. Short. A pause. Like someone didn't want to wake the street. I opened the door. 3 kids stood there with grocery bags. No jackets. Wind cut across Irving like a knife. The oldest met my eyes, chin set. She was 14. The boy behind her was 13. The smallest clutched a pillow, barely 12. My sister wasn't with them. That was all the answer I needed. I'm Daniel Price. 47. That night I moved my work folders off the couch. Heated rice. Split my burger 4 ways. The youngest fell asleep with ketchup on her sleeve. The boy brushed his teeth with a finger. The oldest tucked a pencil behind her ear, notebook already open. The boy's shoes had holes. The girl's notebook didn't. They didn't ask. They didn't have to. Rachel worked nights at a pub off Northwest Highway. Tips, cheap vodka, strangers. That was her pattern. Their father, Mitch, paid child support on the dot. Money, not presents. No birthdays. No calls. Just checks. By the end of the week I set rules. Homework before TV. Dinner at 7. Quiet after 10. Chores pay the rent. The girl said, fair? The boy nodded. The little one whispered, okay. I told myself I was steady. Claims adjuster for a roofing outfit. Divorced. No kids of my own. I watched the oldest with her notebook, the way she tracked every dollar. 14 years old, already writing survival in pencil. People think care is love. It's not. Presence isn't love. Presence is proof. That line stayed with me. The apartment changed piece by piece. Extra towels from Walmart. 3 toothbrushes in the plastic cup. A chipped mug with a lipstick smear. Not mine. The fridge humming louder than it should. Cheap shampoo smell after showers. Those details pile up. They matter. They're evidence. Rachel hated that. Called one night, voice slurred. Said I was stealing her kids. I told her they're not goats. You don't trade them. She hung up so hard I heard plastic crack. That was the last I heard for months. The kids adapted. The boy started fixing things. Used a frying pan and towel as an iron. Didn't complain. Just solved. The oldest picked up shifts in a warehouse. The youngest cataloged prints at an art co-op. They built structure where none existed. I watched patterns. It's my job. Roofing claims, storm damage, fraud. Patterns tell you where the truth hides. I started keeping one at home. Bought a metal file box at Office Depot. Plain, square, lockable. I put the first papers inside: dentist bill, school form, a text screenshot. Labeled the tab MISC. Thought nothing of it. Later, it became the spine. Care isn't a feeling. Care is evidence. That's the difference between words and truth. Sunday dinners anchored us. Chili, pork chops, whatever stayed warm. The table became a ledger. Hours worked. Paychecks earned. Papers stacked. Receipts saved. I printed everything: texts, bills, even sticky notes that said dinner at 7. Kids don't need promises. They need receipts. Rachel returned in February, engine idling in the street. Window cracked, smoke curling, headlights strobing against the blinds. She shouted, "You think you can own my kids?" I walked onto the porch. I showed up when you didn't. That was it. She cursed, gunned the car, gravel spitting down the road. The porch light flickered once and died. The kids didn't ask about her. They'd stopped long before. I thought the storm had passed. It hadn't. One late night the phone rang. Anonymous complaint at work. Accused me of misappropriating funds. Protocol flagged it. Steward shut his office door and said, "Document everything." I already had. I wrote dates on the fridge calendar with a blunt pencil because it outlasts ink. The shoebox filled. The file box stacked higher. Paper doesn't lie. Do not fight in the dark. Let the paper speak. A week later, Rachel's name surfaced online. She didn't come back with words I could prepare for. She came back with something quieter. More dangerous. The fridge hummed louder than the phone in my hand. I slid a fresh folder out and labeled it February. The silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. The file box was half full when the first letter came. No return address. Just my name, block letters, smudged ink. Inside was a typed complaint. Claimed neglect. Same phrases repeated. It smelled faintly of cigarettes, like it sat in a bar. I slid it into a folder labeled February. Presence isn't love. Presence is proof. Next morning, Stuart called me into his office. He shut the door. He said, "An anonymous tip claims you falsified hours." I replied, "Check the files." I left the box on his desk. Receipts, gas slips, time-stamped emails. He flipped through, then closed it. He said, "You keep better records than this company." That was the end, for now. At home, the kids didn't ask. Emily folded laundry with headphones in. Brandon scrubbed pans, sleeves wet. Katie colored on the fridge calendar with blunt crayons. Some marks outlast the ink. Later that week, Rachel called. Her voice sharp, shaking. She said, "You'll regret cutting me out?" I replied, "You cut yourself out?" She laughed, quick and bitter. Then the line went dead. The fridge hummed louder than her threats. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. I bought more folders at Walmart. Yellow tabs. Permanent marker. Categories: school, medical, money, miscellaneous. Each sheet slid inside with a click. That sound became routine. Like locking a door. Kids don't need promises. They need receipts. Friday night headlights swept my blinds. Rachel's car idled at the curb. Music low, engine rough. She never got out. Just smoked. The kids pretended not to notice. Emily's pencil scratched on paper. Brandon tied his shoelaces in double knots. Katie whispered, "Is she coming inside?" I said no. She isn't. And she didn't. 2 weeks later came another knock. Louder this time. A man in a wrinkled shirt held a clipboard. He said, "Are you Daniel Price?" I said yes. He asked, "Do you have guardianship papers?" I said, "Guardianship papers? I've got food on the table. That's proof enough." He blinked, then glanced down. I set the file box on the table. Opened it. School attendance. Doctor's notes. Screenshots of Rachel's texts. He scanned page after page. His pen slowed. He said, "This is more organized than most official files." I replied, "That's the point." He left slower than he came. Didn't promise anything. Didn't threaten either. That night Emily wrote in her notebook again. Columns of numbers, dates, small doodles in the margins. Brandon came home with ripped shoes. Sole half gone. He kicked them off by the fridge. The hum swallowed the room. His shirt smelled of cheap deodorant, sharp and sour. Katie dropped her backpack by the chair. Strap half torn, zipper hanging. She didn't complain. Just sat down and drew more crooked shapes. The boy's shoes had holes. The girl's notebook didn't. Love talks. Rent proofs. Rachel escalated online. Posts, comments, claims. Said I was holding her kids hostage. Said I was unstable. I didn't reply. I printed screenshots. Hole punched them. Filed under MISC. Do not fight in the dark. Let the paper speak. Saturday morning, a letter slid under the door. No stamp. No envelope. Just 3 words, "You will pay." The paper smelled faintly of smoke. Katie asked, "What is it?" I said, "Nothing you need to see." I folded it twice. Slid it into the box. That evening, headlights again. Closer this time. Engine revving. Gravel crunching slow. I stood by the window, blinds tilted. Rachel's hands on the wheel. Face lit by her phone. The kids clustered in the hallway, silent. The fridge hummed. The shoebox sat open on the counter. I thought about calling the police. Didn't. Instead, I picked up the blunt pencil. Wrote the date on the calendar. February 23rd. She drove off after 15 minutes. No horn. No words. Just taillights shrinking into the dark. I didn't put the file box back in the closet. Not this time. I set it by the door, next to my boots. The box sat by the door when the call came. Unknown number. I answered anyway. A woman's voice asked, "Are you Daniel Price?" I said yes. She said, "We've had reports about minors under your roof. Neglect. Interference. We need a statement." I replied, "Check my files?" Silence, then a click. The line went dead. That night Emily laid her notebook on the table. Columns, arrows, expenses. A page torn halfway. She said, "Should we worry?" I replied, "Worry doesn't change facts." Brandon sat in the corner, shoes still wet from rain. The smell of cheap deodorant filled the room. Katie's backpack lay open, strap half torn. She pulled out crayons. Drew crooked houses on printer paper. Presence isn't love. Presence is proof. Next morning a letter waited on the porch. This time with an envelope. Typed. Official seal. Family court. Hearing scheduled. Allegations listed: neglect, coercion, parental alienation. Words stacked heavy. I put the letter flat on the table. Opened the file box. Started a new folder, court. Printed emails, texts, receipts. Labeled each page. Stapled gas slips. Highlighted dates. Do not fight in the dark. Let the paper speak. At work, Stuart stopped by my desk. He said, "Everything okay at home?" I replied, "Paperwork's heavier than shingles." He chuckled once, then walked on. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. The kids handled it their way. Emily cooked pasta, left portions labeled in Tupperware. Brandon patched his shoes with duct tape. Katie taped her backpack zipper and colored over the tear. Love talks. Rent proofs. Rachel pushed harder online. Found old friends. Dug up neighbors. Claimed I isolated the kids. She wrote, "He's controlling. He locks them in." I printed every line. Hole punched. Filed under court. That weekend headlights flashed across the blinds again. Longer this time. Engine running steady. I stood in the dark, blinds tilted. Rachel never stepped out. Just idled, phone glow on her face. The fridge hummed. The box sat by the door. The pencil stub lay next to it. I sharpened it slowly. Wrote the date, March 4th. Emily watched from the hallway. She said, "What if they believe her?" I replied, "Belief bends. Evidence doesn't." Monday morning I met with a lawyer downtown. He wore a cheap tie, carried a thicker briefcase than mine. He said, "Do you have documentation?" I set the file box on his desk. He opened it. Stopped speaking. He said, "This isn't defense. This is prosecution." I replied, "Feeding isn't stealing." He nodded once. Back home the kids sat at the table. Emily copied dates into her notebook. Brandon wrote homework on loose paper. Katie pressed crayons until the tips broke. The fridge clicked louder than usual. The hum filled the kitchen. I checked the blinds again. Street empty. Porch light buzzing. The box stayed by the door, not the closet. That night another letter slid under the door. No envelope this time. 3 words again: watch your back. The paper smelled of smoke. The pencil rolled off the table, clattered on the floor. I picked it up. Sharpened it to a new point. Katie left a broken crayon stub next to it. Brandon set the empty tape roll beside both. Ink fades. Pencil holds. I marked one more date. Dates don't lie. The courthouse smelled of coffee gone stale. Paper dust in the air. I carried the file box tight against my chest. My name was called. I walked in. The benches creaked. Shoes scraped. Then silence. Rachel sat across. New dress. Fresh hair dye. Her lawyer bent close, whispering. She nodded too fast. I kept my eyes on the table graying. The first witness came up. A neighbor. She said Rachel was kind, always present. Her voice cracked once. The lawyer nodded. The judge wrote. I just breathed. The second came. A coworker. He said Rachel never missed work. She worked late. He said I was absent. The lawyer smiled. The judge wrote. My lawyer tapped his pen once on the wood. The third came. A family friend. She said I was strict. Cold. Distant. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue. The lawyer handed another. The judge looked up. My lawyer didn't move. Each one came. Each one sat. Each one repeated the same line. Presence equals care. Words equal proof. Brandon's shoes scraped once under the bench. Emily's notebook stayed shut on her lap. Then my turn. My lawyer stood. He opened the file box. He pulled the first folder. Rent receipts. Signed. Dated. Stacked. He laid them out in rows. He said kids don't need promises. They need receipts. The judge's pen slowed. Second folder. School reports. Teacher notes. Homework logs. Each signed. Each filed. My lawyer lined them by month. He said, do not fight in the dark. Let the paper speak. Third folder. Medical bills. Pharmacy slips. Prescriptions. Each one stamped. Each one clipped. He set them in a neat row. He said, presence isn't love. Presence is proof. The judge set his pen down. He said, paper outweighs words. His voice echoed. Rachel's lawyer stood. He tried to speak. His words cracked. He said, this is harassment. The judge cut him off. He said, the paper shows custody. End of discussion. The gavel hit once. Rachel froze. Her mouth opened. No sound. My lawyer closed the box. He clicked the lid. In the corridor, Rachel waited. Tissue in hand. Red lipstick smeared across it. Her lawyer's folder had scratches down the side. Fresh marks from her nails. She said, you think you won? I didn't answer. She stepped closer. Her perfume sharp, chemical. She whispered, this isn't over. I looked at the scratches. I said, threats fade? Paper doesn't. She flinched. Turned. Heels cracking on the tile. I walked out with the file box. Sun hit the glass doors. My boots echoed on the steps. Her engine revved. Faded into the street. At home, I set the box on the table. The pencil rolled off the dashboard onto the papers. I caught it midair. The fridge hummed louder than the phone in my hand. Engines fade. Paper holds. The pencil marked March on the wall calendar. The square looked small. Bills stacked under it looked bigger. Next court date circled on the calendar. March 25th. Rachel's car showed up twice that week. She didn't come to the door. She sat outside with the engine running. Once she revved 3 times. Then drove off. The kids saw it. Emily closed her curtains. Brandon asked nothing. He kept taping his backpack straps again. I bought another lock for the back door. I screwed it in while the fridge hummed. The next day a letter came. No envelope. Just folded copy paper. For words this time, you will lose everything. I set it flat on the table. I sharpened the pencil. I wrote the date across the bottom of the page. The phone rang that night. Unknown number. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then I picked up. He said, custody isn't yours. I replied, rent proves more than words. The line went dead. I set the receiver down. The bailiff's words echoed in my head. Paper outweighs words. 2 nights later, headlights cut across the blinds. Gravel crunched. The truck stopped short. A door slammed. Brandon stood in the hall. Bare feet. His deodorant smelled sharp in the air. He whispered, should I hide? I said no. Just stay close. The knock came hard. Twice. Then again. I opened. Rachel stood there. Eyes red. Nails chipped. She held a phone in her hand. She said, "Sign them over?" I said nothing. She shoved the phone close. A man's voice came through. Not just her voice anymore. A man's behind it. He said, "Do it." I closed the door. Locked it. The deadbolt clicked loud. Rachel screamed outside. She hit the door once. Then silence. Emily wrote her homework at the kitchen table through all of it. Her pencil broke. She didn't ask for help. She just sharpened it and kept going. The next morning a car followed me to work. Same model. Same dents. It trailed 2 blocks. Then turned off. At the office I asked for a transfer. The clerk looked at me. He said, "Why?" I replied, "Threats fade. Paper doesn't." He typed without another question. That night I added another folder to the box. Copies of letters. Dates and pencil. Phone call logs. Kids don't need speeches. They need records. The pencil stayed sharp on the counter. The file box sat by the door. Boots lined under it. At midnight a noise came. Window latch scraped. Brandon stirred in his room. Emily's notebook slid off her lap to the floor. I stood up. Picked the pencil. The fridge hummed. A hinge creaked in the dark. I didn't breathe. The pencil point faced the dark. The hinge creaked once. Then silence. I waited. The pencil stayed in my hand. The file box sat near the door. Brandon shifted again in his room. Emily whispered something I couldn't hear. The fridge hummed steady. Another scrape at the window. A shoe against gravel. I moved to the hall. My boots were lined under the table. I didn't put them on. The latch gave. Window pushed an inch. Cold air slipped in. Cheap shampoo smell drifted from the bathroom. It mixed with the night. I said, "Stay in your rooms?" No sound came back. Just the clock ticking. The window opened wider. A hand slid through. Thick silver ring. Scar across the knuckle. Male hand. Not Rachel's. I stepped forward. The floorboard creaked under me. The hand froze. Pulled back. Then nothing. The front door knob rattled once. Twice. Harder. Deadbolt held. I set the pencil down. I picked up the metal flashlight from the counter. Do not fight in the dark. Let the paper speak. That line echoed. But this wasn't court. Glass cracked at the back. Liquid hissed on the floorboards. Burnt beer stench spread fast. Emily coughed. Brandon's door clicked. I said, "Stay inside." Brandon said, "Should I call?" I replied, "Not yet." The back door rattled. Hinges strained. Then a voice low outside. Not Rachel. The same man. He said, "You can't hide forever?" I switched on the flashlight. Beam cut across the kitchen. The shoebox of receipts on the shelf lit up. Paper didn't shake. Another hit at the back door. Wood splintered. I braced. Boots still by the table. Pencil on the counter. The noise stopped. Silence heavy. Then a car started outside. Engine revved twice. Tires spit gravel. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. Just the fridge and the clock. I picked the pencil again. Wrote the time on a new page. March 12th. 12:40 a.m. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. Brandon stepped into the hall. Shirt wrinkled. Hair flat. He said, "Are we safe?" I replied, "For now." Emily joined. She held her broken crayon. She set it by the pencil. Small hand. Shaky fingers. I filed the new page into the box. Closed the lid. Locked it. The night went still again. But the silence wasn't empty. It waited. Then headlights swept the window. Slow. Deliberate. A horn tapped once. Then again. I moved to the door. The kids stood behind me. The pencil rested against my palm. The horn tapped a third time. Then stopped. The fridge hummed louder. The house didn't move. I didn't breathe. The pencil point faced the door. And the door didn't wait long. The door waited all night. Morning came slow. Coffee gone cold. The file box sat on the table. The pencil beside it. Next court date. March 25th. I circled it again. Red mark this time. Emily watched me do it. Brandon tied his shoes twice. The laces still frayed. We walked into the courthouse. Same smell. Old coffee. Paper dust. The clerk nodded once. The bailiff checked my box. Cleared it. Rachel sat 2 rows ahead. Makeup heavier. Hair pulled back. She didn't look at me. She stared at the judge's bench. The first call. Her lawyer stood. He said I was unstable. He said I provoked. He said the house was unsafe. The judge lifted his hand. He said, "Show proof." My lawyer opened the box. Folder 1. Letters. Dated. Each signed. He placed them down. Folder 2. Phone logs. Times written in pencil. Each call traced. Folder 3. Photos. Window latch broken. Glass cracked. Beer stain on floorboards. The judge leaned forward. He said, "Paper outweighs words." Rachel stood. She shouted, "Lies? All lies." Her voice cracked sharp. Her heels slipped in the pump. The tonal cream streaked down her cheek. The judge hit the gavel once. He said, "Sit down." Her lawyer waved a hand. He muttered, "You can't take her kids." The judge didn't answer. Silence was the reply. My lawyer pointed at the pencil marks. He said, "Threats fade? Paper doesn't." The judge looked at Rachel. He said, "Custody stays? Case closed." Rachel froze. Nails clicked against her phone screen. Then dimmed. She pressed her lips tight. No more sound. We walked out. Sun hit the glass doors. Boots echoed on the steps. Emily held her notebook close. Brandon carried the broken tape roll. I set the box on the hood of the truck. I opened it one last time. I wrote a final date. March 25th. Verdict day. Engines fade. Paper holds. The pencil waited. For rest. Until the next storm. For you, it's just a minute to like this video and write a comment if you enjoyed it. For this channel, it's a huge help to keep growing. Subscribe if you want more stories about real men who don't scream. They act coldly to the end.